So you've been asked to moderate or chair a conference session. How do you do it? In this video, I'm going to provide a few pointers. So your role as chair begins about 2 or 3 weeks before the event itself. And what you typically do is to write to the speakers in your session and ask them to share with you some information about their careers or about their current research that they are happy for you to share with the audience on the day itself. And the point of this is that this is the material you'll use to introduce them in the actual conference. It's also a good idea in this early correspondence to ask them about any special circumstances or support that they might require, also any particular tech needs for their presentation. And I'm always careful to try and work out if the person speaking is doing so for the first time. People giving their first conference paper might well require a little bit more support. So the next thing to do is to think about how you're going to structure your session. There's various ways of doing this. So in my field, it's typically 3 papers and then a Q&A session for a particular conference session. But how will you structure it? Will you have paper 1, Q&A, paper 2, Q&A, paper 3, Q&A? Or all the papers one after the other, and then a big Q&A session at the end? Well, I find the second approach works best, but it's up to you. You're also going to have to think about how you're going to hold your speakers to time. Now, again, in my field, papers are normally 20 minutes long, and you're going to be careful to prevent papers from overrunning and therefore taking time away from the other speakers. But how do you do this? I find the easiest thing is to write on a piece of paper the words 1 minute. And then at 19 minutes, so 1 minute before their deadline, I will push this piece of paper forward so it's into the speaker's field of vision, just to subtly remind them now is the time to start wrapping things up. Then the day itself arrives. It's best to arrive at the room early to make sure the tech's working and the room's laid out the way you want it to be. And if it isn't, you might need to seek support. So the earlier you can get into the room, the better. It's worth, if possible, having a chat with the speakers before the event, just so that you're all familiar with each other. And then the audience arrives and you're off. Well, you should give a brief introductory welcome type introduction, but I tend to keep it very brief. The audience is there to see the speakers, not me. And then you can work through the individual speakers, introducing them, then they give their paper and so on and so forth. Once the speakers have given their papers, you'll then need to coordinate the Q&A. And here you've got to make sure that everyone gets a chance to ask a question as far as possible, who wants to, and I tend to go in the order in which people put their hands up. That seems the fairest way. Now, when people are giving their questions, there's a few things you've got to keep in mind. First thing is the question appropriate? Now, of course, 99.9% will be, but you have to just be alive to the fact that if a question's asked that's inappropriate, perhaps you have to intervene. Another consideration is, let's say you've got 3 speakers and everyone's asking questions to speaker 1. Well, naturally, you want all the speakers to have a chance to answer questions. So perhaps if the first few questions are posed to speaker 1, you might want to say, do we have any questions for speakers 2 or 3, perhaps? And if there's one speaker for whom there are no questions for some reason, then it's often a good idea to step in yourself and say, well, perhaps I could ask a question of speaker 3, and then you ask your question, so everyone's had a chance to answer at least one. But these are some of the basic pointers for moderating a conference session, and I hope you found this useful.